Okay, this is on the Moodle Gradebook. I'm in an example course, which is completely empty right now because I thought that would be the easiest way to start talking about the Moodle Gradebook. First of all, to get there, you just go over here where it says Gradebook Setup. And when you come to the Gradebook Setup, you come into the actual setting up of your gradebook. You can see if you go here, there's a number of different drop-down things we can look at. We're going to start here. The gradebook is flat, meaning everything's averaged together unless you make it a different way, which you need to do. So the first thing you want to do is add categories for the quarters that you have for your class. So I go and add categories, and I add quarter one through quarter four. So I'm going to do that first by just typing up here quarter one and just hitting save. And then I'm going to add a new one, a new category, quarter two. And I'm going to add all three or all four of my categories. Now, if you're taking over somebody else's class, this may already be done for you. So right now I've got four categories for the quarters, and they're each worth 100 points, and I've got a course total here. Now, the problem with the way it's set up by default is that it would right now average all of our quarters together. So the only one we want to count in our example course grade is the current quarter we're in. So because of that, we also add a category called hidden and zeroed. And the zeroed part is that we go to category total and make it worth nothing. And so we've got this other one, and what we do is we put all the quarters that we're not currently in hidden and zeroed. So I'm going to hit this up and down arrow right here. I'm going to put quarter one in hidden and zeroed. I'm going to push the up down arrow, and I'm going to put quarter three in zero, and I'm going to put quarter four in hidden and zeroed. So now my course is quarter one and hidden and zeroed worth nothing, and inside that are the other quarters. And I'm going to go right here and I'm going to say hide. Now what that does, you can see it change the color. It makes it so the grade for this course is whatever is inside quarter two, and whatever inside, and only that is what's totaled in the course total that we're going to see. Now, as I add activities during the second quarter, I just say that they're in the second quarter. We've already gone through the point of adding activities, and maybe the setup would have been better done first. But I'm going to go ahead and add an activity and put it in quarter two total and show you what I mean. So if I go back to this example course and I turn editing on, and at this point you should have already seen how to add an activity, and the activity I'm going to do is an assignment. And I'm going to say homework one. I can put the instructions and the description in here. You really use description, just so you know. These activity instructions, if I go and click on here, this is not shown here. So I put all my stuff really in the description. And I could cut and paste a whole thing of what that assignment is inside here. If I had any attached files that I wanted to have for the student, I would show those in there. If I know the due date for it, I would go ahead and click the due date so that the students, by using this block, this due date here, it shows up on their calendar so they know it's coming. Submission types, might be an online, it might be a file, and if it's neither one, I uncheck both of them. And then I go down to grade and I see how many points. This is just a homework, so I'm going to say it's worth 10, and I'm going to put it in quarter two. And then when I hit save and display, this is what the students would see when they click on it. If I go back here to the topic, they see homework assignment one, and when they click on it, these are the only things I put in the instructions. And then they really don't have anything to do on this one because this is a traditional turn-in assignment. I have two options on grading. Three options on grading. Number one is I can put in the grades right here. And number two is I can put it in the grade book. First of all, I have to have students or I'm not going to show anything. So I'm going to add some students to this class. So I've added a couple students. So one way I can grade it is just hit grade. If I do that, I don't use this way very often, but it allows me to type in the number here and it gives me a place that I can type a whole amount of feedback if I wanted to on this particular assignment on the student. That's number one way how to do it. Number two is I can say view all submissions and I can grade them right here. So I see all my students in a list. I can grab and do them by section, and in your class in here it would show the ability to see different sections as well. And I could go and just type the number in of the grade right here. Okay, and the last way we can enter grades, and here you can just type the number in and you can type comment in. The last way is when we're at our course, we can go straight to our grade book. And when we go here to Gradebook Setup, we can drop down and go to the Moodle Gradebook. If we're here, and if editing is on, you can see what it looks like with editing off. With editing off, we can scroll across and I can collapse all those hidden and zeroed things into one thing. And as our second quarter gets built, when we turn editing on, we can just type those grades right in there. And as we get grades, you can see it automatically calculates. Now, here's the thing. We can't put in things in the totals. It automatically calculates those things. The grade for the course is always equal to, or I'm sorry, should always be equal to the current quarter that we're in. So right now we see quarter 2 is 100 and the course total is 100. This number right here, the one under the course total, is what gets uploaded at the end of every quarter when I run the upload process. It knows nothing about all the rest of those grades. It doesn't know any categories, any individual items. All it knows is the course total, which is why it's important that we set it up so that all the other things are down here and hidden and zeroed. And because it's zeroed, they won't calculate. And we should always get the same numbers here and here. So if this one changes, you'll see both of them change. And as I add grade items, I add them in the second quarter. Now this is what is called a flat gradebook. In other words, it's going to calculate all the individual items based on their points and average them all together. And teachers that use flat gradebooks, which is probably a majority, just give more points to tests and less points to homework, and it just kind of works out what each thing is worth based on what those things are given as their individual worth. You don't have to have a flat grade book. You can also have, like mine in my class, 20% of the grade is from formative items and 80% of the grade is from summative items. So you can also have categories inside a category to do those with. I'm going to show you how to do that and what that means. I go back to Gradebook Setup. Oh, there we go. I was having a hard time finding it. And I'll add a category and I'm going to name it 2-formative. You don't want to call it just formative because you're going to have one in every quarter by the time you're done. And I'm going to say that's worth 20 points. And I'm going to put it inside of quarter 2. And I'm going to make a category called 2 summative. And I'm going to make it worth 80 points. And I'm also going to put that inside of quarter 2. So now if I go and look at this, my formative is 20, my summative is 80, out of 100, and then I'll put this homework inside one of them. So no matter what my points are for individual things, everything in formative is averaged together to be a total of 20 points. All my summative things then are averaged together be a total of 80 points, and that's how my gradebook is set up. If I go to my class, I'll go to my actual class real quick. You can see that in second quarter, and my second quarter total is equal to my course total. And then I've got a summative that's up to 20 points a formative that's up to 20 points and a summative that's up to 80 points. And that's how my grade is calculated. Now, inside this formative, if I open this up, there's a whole bunch of activities. Turn editing off there. There's a whole bunch of activities inside this formative one that all go together to calculate that grade. And then also inside, if I collapse this back up again, and inside my summative one, there's a whole bunch of grades inside my summative as well that all go together to calculate that summative grade and that 80% of that summative grade as well. But in general, all those grades, all the summative ones go together, all the formative ones go together to figure out that. Oh, and just by collapsing that and reopening it, now it went to the percentage, but you saw before the points that were available from each one, and all the other quarters are in my hidden and zeroed. Mine's got a lot of stuff in it. I'm going to go back to the gradebook setup. So that's basically how the gradebook is set up. You set it up with the gradebook setup option with having the current quarter shown, all the other quarters under hidden and zeroed, and as we add grade items in our course, we just pick what category it's going to go into, whichever one it's active, and it automatically calculates all of our grades for us. We can enter the grades in the activity that you've put underneath, like for this one, it should say something like quarter two, or we can enter it through the gradebook itself by going here to the Moodle gradebook and just entering grades right there. And that's it for the beginning setup of the Moodle gradebook.